Are you self-employed here in the UK, and are you wondering where on earth is my tax refund? If so, you have definitely come to the right place. In this guide, which has been put together by the experts over at ProTax Accountant, we're going to break down exactly why your money might be stuck with HMRC, and more importantly, what you can actually do about it.
It's that feeling, isn't it? You've done everything you were supposed to do. You filed your self-assessment, you got the calculation back, and you know there's a refund with your name on it. But then, just silence. Especially if you're a freelancer or run a small business, you know that money is vital for your cash flow. The waiting is just incredibly frustrating.
So let's paint a picture. Imagine Sarah. She's a freelance designer based in London, and it's now January 2026. She's logging into her HMRC account for what feels like the 100th time, and she sees that same status she's been staring at for weeks. Bank repayment pending. I mean, it sounds good, right? Pending. But the money is nowhere to be seen in her bank account, and honestly, she's starting to get a little worried. That status is really our first clue that there's a lot more going on behind the scenes.
And the thing is, Sarah's story isn't a one-off, not at all. This is a massive issue that's turning what should be a straightforward refund into a really anxious waiting game for thousands upon thousands of self-employed people right across the UK. Okay, so here's the disconnect. Officially, if you look at HMRC's guidelines, they aim to process self-assessment refunds in about 5 to 10 working days. That's the promise, that's the expectation they set. But the reality for so many people in this 2025-26 tax year is a delay of weeks, and in some cases we're talking months. And that huge gap between the promise and the reality is where all this frustration is coming from. And this isn't just some small administrative hiccup, this is a systemic problem that is causing real, genuine financial pain. I mean, you only have to look at online communities to see them filled with stories just like this one. You've got people dipping into their savings, you've got them borrowing money, putting big life plans on hold, all while they're waiting for their own money to be returned to them.
So why? Why is this happening? Well, if you ask HMRC, they'll give you an official reason. And it all boils down to a process they simply call security checks. So let's dive in and break down what that actually means for you.
Now, this term, pre-repayment risk criteria, this is taken straight from HMRC's own internal playbook. Basically, when you submit your return, an automated system gives it a scan. It's looking for anything that matches these so-called risk criteria. If your return triggers one of these flags, it gets pulled out of the express lane and slapped onto a manual review pile. And that, right there, is where the delays really kick in.
So what might get your return flagged? Well, it can be for completely normal, legitimate reasons. Maybe this is your first ever self-assessment. Or hey, maybe you had a brilliant year and your refund is just a lot bigger than it was last time. It could be as simple as you updated your bank details. Any one of those things can be enough to trigger a manual check.
But here's the thing. Those security checks, they're only one part of the puzzle. The real story, the thing that explains why these delays are dragging on for so long, is that the entire system is just completely overloaded.
Get ready for this number, because it is absolutely staggering. According to a major report from the National Audit Office, taxpayers in the UK collectively spent the equivalent of 798 years on hold with HMRC. That's not a typo. 798 years. That's millions of hours spent just waiting for someone to pick up the phone. And what does that mind-boggling number mean for you personally when you try to call? Well, it boils down to this: an average wait time of 23 minutes per call. It's a deeply frustrating reality for anyone who's just trying to get a simple answer about where their money is. Now, what's really interesting here is why people are calling. A massive 72% of calls to HMRC are what's known as failure demand. Now, what that means is people aren't calling with new questions. They're calling to chase up delays, to get HMRC to fix its own mistakes, or to follow up on something that just didn't work the first time. It creates this vicious cycle. The delays cause more calls, and the calls cause even more delays.
And somehow, it gets even worse. Stay with me, this next point might surprise you. As this user on Reddit discovered, people found that the request a refund button on the website was, well, basically fake. It looked like it was working, but it wasn't actually doing anything. So the only way to get your refund processed was to join that 23-minute phone queue we just talked about, a phone system already buckling under the weight of everyone else chasing delays. Unbelievable.
Okay, hearing all of that, it's easy to feel a bit disheartened. But you are not powerless in this situation. So now we're going to completely shift gears. We're going to focus on the clear, actionable steps, all based on ProTax Accountant's expert guidance that you can take to fight the delays and get your money.
Look, preparation is everything. Before you even think about lodging a formal complaint, you've got to get your ducks in a row. First, know exactly what the problem is. Be specific. Second, gather every single piece of evidence you have. We're talking letters, emails, even notes from your phone calls. Third, know what you want. What's the ideal resolution for you? And finally, this one is absolutely crucial. Keep paying any other taxes you owe. Don't let a dispute over a refund create a whole new problem with late payment penalties.
Right, so once you've filed your complaint, it enters a formal process. It starts with what's called a Tier 1 review. If you're not happy with that, you can push for a Tier 2 review, which is basically HMRC's final word on the matter. But, and this is important, that's not the end of the road. You can then take your case to the independent adjudicator's office, and after that, even the parliamentary ombudsman. It is so important to know you have these options. Okay, let's get into some powerful insider tips from the experts at ProTax Accountant. These are the little details that can make a huge difference, the difference between a complaint that gets ignored and one that actually gets results. Here's a brilliant pro tip for you. In your complaint, use the word maladministration. Now, this isn't just fancy jargon, it's a very powerful term. It basically signals that you believe HMRC has failed to follow its own rules and procedures. Using that one word can trigger a much more serious internal look at how they've handled your case. And here's another fantastic way to level the playing field. You have a legal right to see the internal notes HMRC holds on you by making something called a Subject Access Request, or a SAR. Honestly, this can be a total game changer. It can help you find the evidence you need to back up your complaint. Like, for example, proof that a letter they claim they never got was in fact logged in their system all along. So, we've walked through the whole process, but let's be real for a second. This can be a complicated, draining, and stressful battle to fight all on your own. So when should you really think about bringing in a professional? And that is a really important question you need to ask yourself. Just think about the hours you're spending on hold, the stress this is causing you, the sheer complexity of it all. Sometimes, the smartest move you can make is to tag in an expert who lives and breathes this stuff day in, day out.
If the refund you're owed is a significant amount of money, if your tax situation is a bit complicated, or if this whole thing is just causing you an extreme amount of stress, it is probably time to call for help. Bringing in an expert isn't a sign of failure. It's a smart, strategic move. And this is exactly where a firm like ProTax Accountant can step in and just lift that entire burden right off your shoulders.
So if you're stuck in a dispute with HMRC and you need that expert help, here is exactly how you can get in touch with the team at ProTax Accountant. You can reach them directly on WhatsApp or by phone at 07985 689 912. Or you can send them an email at info@protaxaccountant.co.uk. They can handle the entire process for you, and for more helpful guides just like this one, make sure you hit subscribe on their YouTube channel.
And finally, just a quick but very important note. The information in this guide is for general guidance. UK tax rules are incredibly complex, and of course, your personal situation is completely unique. So, before you make any big financial decisions, it is absolutely essential that you consult with a qualified professional, like the experts at ProTax Accountant.